Hello, fellow Star Wars fans, and welcome to the channel. We have 3 Star Wars comics to talk about this week. We have 1 from Dark Horse, 2 from Marvel, so we're going to just jump to the chase. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the channel to see more from my Star Wars content and more. So getting into it, we have the High Republic Adventures barreling towards its Phase 3 and finale conclusion, right? This is the Jedi and the Warden, part 5. This is issue number 18. Of course, written by Daniel Jose Alder with artwork by Harvey Talabau. And getting into it, we have this big climactic moment on Eriadu, right? We have the tough choice. He's got to take the shot. Farzala, who is basically the leader of the resistance there for the Republic, is having to face a big decision. Should he take the shot with his giant turret he's on? But it can cause a lot of collateral damage. But there's not much time because the Warden, who is the leader of the Nile forces on Eriadu, is targeting the archival or something like that. It's basically the power generator for the whole planet's connected to the core, that if that goes unstable, it spells doom for both Bifrang City as well as Eriadu City, the most densely populated place on the planet, and that would not be good. So, but we also have Jacoby, who is this newer character that is basically being blackmailed by the Warden, who has his grandmother held captive, or if he doesn't do what the Warden tells him to do, he's gonna hurt Jacoby's grandmother. So that's what's on stake for this character, and this character has a heart of gold because he's trying to do right, but he's also trying to not get his grandmother killed. So he ends up just sticking up for the Resistance, sticking up for the Republic there, presses a button to put a shield that nobody knew existed around the archival, and that allows the Republic to have some more vault time. So cutting to the chase, you have Farzala, who has a moment of clarity, who is able to tap into the force of all the deceased people from all of this Nile conflict, including Loden Greatstorm, Orla Jareni, his own master, and they all kind of give him the inspiration, there through his third eye, essentially, of like seeing the Force ghost, saying, it's okay, take the shot. Takes a shot, kills Warden, and that's where we leave off with this issue. So really high stakes here. Really felt like a grand climax. It was great to see Jacoby and the Sage droid 5AGE or whatever. Really funny going back and forth with those characters. They commandeered like a speeder and were flying it around. Overall, I would like to see more from the Warden. We got a little bit of his backstory pertaining to that one general, Vice, and we never see anything of it. I was hoping he would be more of like an empathetic character, but he's just a mustache-twirly villain when it's all said and done. But yeah, we got 2 more issues left for the High Republic Adventures, so what's going to happen now? It's probably going to be just 2 issues of the fallout, but maybe there's some more conflicts yet to be resolved. We shall see. So getting back into the Marvel side of things, also in the High Republic, a High Republic week here, which is great. We have Fear of the Jedi issue number 4. This is chapter 4, The Nightmare Fleet, written by Kavan Scott with Marika Kresla. This one's also stationed on Eriadu, or actually for the orbit of Eriadu. We have the Field Marshal, Keeve Trennis, is actually going to blockade the planet of Eriadu from all the Nile approaching. And that's when the last issue leaves off where, oh my gosh, there's Nile flying in space. So that's where all this craziness is coming from. You have all of these people like Tay Sarek, who's having visions and nightmares of his old lover, Vildar Mac. And then you have Keeve Trennis and some other Jedi thinking that there's Niles in space. Turns out there isn't. Turns out it's actually Hatar, who is a child of the Storm, created by Baron Bullen. She has her own fear machine that is creating a fearscape for just about everybody out there in proximity. This thing is boosting the signal. And it turns out that, in fact, these aren't actually nameless creatures in space that are tearing the ships apart, but it's actually a bunch of scav droids, and scav droids have been a nuisance, even in the Tales from the Occlusion Zone. They're a big part of that. Even in A Valiant Val, which is the last middle grade novel to release earlier this month, that also has a bunch of stuff dealing with scav droids. So yet again, more scav droids. These kind of droids that you would see from Revenge of the Sith a little bit. Those things that tear apart the ships of Obi-Wan. And I could think of them on a bigger scale, and that's what we're dealing with here. They're taking apart long beam ships, or at least trying. So there's a lot going on in here. I really felt remorse for Oberlin, who is getting his ships destroyed and destroyed. Eventually, he's splitting himself up because he's a gelatinous Jedi, and he eventually kind of runs out of steam because he keeps separating himself so much, and those parts of him keep dying. So we get to see him kind of recede, and then this other Jedi has to rescue him. But yeah, it definitely leaves off with this huge climax because we have one more issue to go. How's this going to tie up? We also have just Tales of the Jedi, or not Tales of the Jedi, Trials of the Jedi by Charles Soule, out in about a month due time from the day of recording this. So we have a lot more going on with that. But last but not least, certainly, is Legacy of Vader, Reign of Kylo Ren, issue number 4, written, of course, by Charles Soule, with artwork by Stefano Raphael. And now we ended up on Naboo, and we get to see what has become of Naboo. Everything is a wreck. Remember, you also had the big Project Cinder, or Operation Cinder, happened right after Return of the Jedi, right before Battle of Jakku, when the Emperor's planets, different things, were like just using storm things to destroy them, the planets and everything, and get rid of Palpatine's effect on these certain places. And well, you get to see, I guess, some ramifications of that. We get a bit of history about this planet, which is really cool because Kylo Ren is just walking around with Vanee, and Vanee is just telling him all the scoop on the Emperor and about how, the Emperor grew up on this planet, that's why it's important, but he also had martial law, and they were always very rich and noble, and the Empire protected them. And then after the war, there was this whole thing where these people kind of rose up and tried to take what they could from the riches and whatnot. So a lot of good world building in this issue for Naboo, some stuff we haven't seen before, but there's also some good callbacks that are bringing lessons forward for Kylo Ren as what this entire comic series is about. Vanee telling him about his grandmother, Padme, which is really cool, and about how Anakin, and he doesn't refer to him Anakin, he refers to him as Darth Vader, which I find really cool. Like, Darth Vader had his love life here started, and it was because of that attachment that gave him the power to do everything in his power to either save or bring her back to life, right? So it's that whole story of like, the attachment actually gave power to Darth Vader. And so Kylo Ren is just not, absorbing. It's like, wait, so are you telling me I have to get a girlfriend essentially to become all powerful? And he's like, that's not it. But then he's also thinking about Rey at the same time, and that flashbacks are very good there. But we also get to see like these ne'er-do-well people that are trying to take power, and they're called the Varuna. And Kylo Ren just goes ham on them, just doesn't use the lightsabers, which is interesting. He's trying to keep himself undercover there, but he has dual wielded DL-44s, just like his father, just blasting away, same kind of form and everything. It looks just great. There's also a mention of Vader coming back, or some ghost character coming back and just wiping out Padme's old home, because that's where they visit. And well, it's, the artwork shows basically a different kind of art style for Vader, which looks very tribal. So I will say that looked really, really cool there. But overall, by the end of this, Kylo's like, I'm done with the emperors on this planet. I'm done with, different prime ministers or senators or whatnot. I'm going to become a king of Naboo. And at one point in the beginning of this issue, he's asking General Hux, hey, do we have the power to destroy a planet now that the supremacy is gone, now the Starkiller's base is gone? And he's going over logistics, like, yeah, technically, if you raise all the different landmarks with Star Destroyers from orbit, you could certainly do that. So it's like in Kylo's brain right now that he maybe wants to do an orbital bombardment on Naboo. So if things don't go his way, that might be what happens to Naboo post, Return of the Jedi, and post all that, getting into the sequel trilogy era. So very interesting stuff here going into this one. Again, a lot of good world building for Naboo, for the Emperor, for Vader in a time after Return of the Jedi. Very much appreciated seeing where Naboo falls on the scale right now. But that's going to do it for me and my thoughts on this week's Star Wars comics. What did you think of them? Let me know in the comment section down below. For more on Star Wars, you are already in the right place. Go ahead, subscribe to the channel, leave some comments, leave a like, helps me out here, and I do hope to see you guys soon here on the channel. In the next week or so, I will be back, so I'll see y'all then. Have a good one, and may the Force be with you always.